You've seen it before. A truck stop in the middle of winter. Rows of trucks parked side by side. Snow on the ground and a hotel sign glowing right across the street, and not a single driver moves. Outside, it's minus 40 degrees Celsius. That's cold enough to freeze exposed skin in under 10 minutes. Cold enough to kill an unprotected person within the hour. Those drivers could walk into the hotel right now. They have the money, they have the time. Nobody's stopping them, but they don't move. And here's the thing that most people never even consider. That choice, staying in a metal box in minus 40 degree weather instead of walking over to a warm hotel room, isn't desperation. It's a conscious decision. There are 3 layers to this story. The first explains why they stay. The second reveals the technology keeping them alive. And the third is something almost nobody expects. By the end of this video, you'll never look at a parked truck the same way again. So why don't they just go across the street and check in? It seems like the obvious question. And most people assume that the answer is money, but that's not it. The average long-haul truck driver in the US earns between $60,000 and $80,000 a year. A hotel room costs $100. That's not the problem. The real reasons are more practical and more surprising. The first one is physical. A standard semi-truck with a trailer is between 25 and 30 meters long. Hotel parking lots are built for cars. There's no entrance wide enough, no space long enough. No hotel in America can accommodate a vehicle that size for a small building. The driver just can't simply park and walk in. The truck dictates where he sleeps. The second reason is the legalities. A long-haul truck driver carries an average of 40,000 pounds of freight. Electronics, food, medication, everything. Under federal law, he is personally responsible for that cargo every minute of the trip, including rest periods and overnights. Leaving a trailer unattended in an unsecured location violates most freight contracts, and in some cases, it voids the insurance entirely. So he can't just walk away. But here's the part that changes everything. Even if the parking worked, even if the cargo wasn't an issue, most experienced drivers still wouldn't go. Because of what's inside the cab, especially in winter, is not what you'd expect. And that starts with a problem that most people never even think about. Here's something most people don't know about metal. Steel conducts heat 400 times faster than wood, which means a truck cab, without any heating systems running, reaches outside temperature in under 45 minutes. At minus 40, that's not uncomfortable, that's dangerous. So the obvious solution is simple. Leave the engine running. The engine produces heat. Problem solved. Except it isn't that simple. In most American and Canadian cities, truck drivers are legally banned from leaving their engine running overnight. Anti-idling laws were introduced to reduce emissions in populated areas. The fine for violation can reach up to $25,000. So the driver has 2 problems at the same time. A metal box that loses heat faster than almost any other material, and a law that makes the most obvious solution illegal. Running the engine all night also costs between $30 and $50 in diesel fuel, sometimes even more, every single night. For a driver on the road 300 nights a year, that's up to $15,000 a year just to stay warm. So something had to be invented. And what engineers came up with is one of the most underrated pieces of technology on the road today. Most people drive past it every day and have absolutely no idea it even exists. Inside the frame of almost every modern long-haul truck sits a device about the size of a shoebox. It's got its own fuel line connected directly to the diesel tank. It has its own ignition system, its own thermostat, and it runs completely independently from the main engine. Most people have never heard of it. It's called a diesel bunk heater, and brands like Webasto and Eberspacher have been building them for decades. originally for military vehicles and aircraft. Today, they're standard equipment on long-haul trucks operating in cold climates. But the bunk heater is just the beginning, because some trucks carry something far more advanced, something that doesn't just heat the cab, it turns it into a completely self-sufficient living space, even at minus 40 degrees Celsius. If the bunk heater is the standard solution, the APU is the upgrade that changes everything. APU stands for Auxiliary Power Unit, and the name undersells what it actually does. It's a completely second engine mounted to the frame of the truck, with its own fuel supply, its own cooling system, and its own electrical output. It runs independently from the main engine, and it can power virtually everything inside the cab simultaneously. But here's the question that nobody ever asks. What happens if it fails? Okay, so let's picture this. It's 3 in the morning, you're parked at a rest stop in northern Minnesota. Outside it's minus 38 degrees Celsius. The nearest truck stop is 40 miles away. The nearest hotel is unreachable without moving the truck. And you wake up cold. You check your heater panel, nothing. The bunk heater stopped. You check the APU, also dead. The cab temperature is already dropping at roughly 1 degree per minute in this kind of cold. Within 20 minutes, it'll be minus 15 degrees Celsius inside. Within an hour, even worse. This is not hypothetical. And every driver knows one rule above all others. Never leave the cab in extreme cold without a plan to get back in. Because outside, even for just 5 minutes, the cold does not negotiate. Surviving minus 40 degrees Celsius in a truck cab doesn't start when the temperature drops. It starts weeks before. Every professional cold weather driver runs through the same checklist before winter even hits. And most of it involves problems that most people have never even considered. The first is the fuel itself. At minus 20, diesel fuel begins to gel. The wax crystals that form inside untreated diesel block fuel filters and fuel lines, shutting down the engine entirely and the bunk heater at exactly the same moment. The solution is an anti-gel additive poured directly into the tank before temperatures drop. Every experienced driver carries some. The second is the batteries. Cold cuts the battery capacity in half. At minus 40, a standard truck battery delivers less than 40% of its rated power. A truck running an APU and full cab electronics overnight needs up to 8 batteries, double the standard setup, just to make it through a single night without the system shutting down. The third are the tires. Tire pressure drops by 1 psi for every 6 degrees of temperature decrease. At minus 40, an unmonitored tire can lose up to 15 psi. An underinflated tire on an icy road at highway speed is not a maintenance issue, it's a catastrophe. And the fourth thing is something as simple as a curtain. Thermal insulated curtains hung between the cab and the sleeper reduce heat loss by up to 60%. They cost around $50. At minus 40, they are the difference between the heater running for 4 hours or 8. Now here's what surprises everyone. Ask a driver who has spent a winter night in his cab at minus 40, properly prepared, whether he'd rather have been in a hotel. Most of them will tell you no. And that answer stops people cold. And the first reason is silence. At minus 40, the world outside goes completely quiet. No traffic, no voices, no doors slamming down a hallway, just the soft hum of a bunk heater doing its job. Drivers who have experienced it describe it as the deepest sleep they've ever had. It's the kind of silence that doesn't exist in any hotel room on any highway in America. The most extreme conditions don't always produce the most miserable experiences. Sometimes they produce the most memorable ones. So the next time you pass a truck in the middle of winter, you see those dark cabs parked in the snow, those drivers are not suffering. They're warm, they're prepared, and most of them are sleeping better than you are. Now it's time to hear from you. If you're a truck driver, what's your coldest night in the cab? And would you trade it for a hotel room? Let me know down in the comments. And if you're watching this from your couch right now, what's the temperature outside where you are? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you learned something today, hit the like button. It helps more people find this channel. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you down the road.